What's good, YouTube? rhnisker coming to you from the second round of the Next Great Yugituber. First off, I want to thank Underworld6667 and everyone else who supported me and helped me get to this point, so I want to thank you guys for that. So something I want to make sure I focus on in each of these videos is meeting the requirements that Underworld gives us, as well as showing you what my channel can bring you. And my channel is going to be focused on lower tier players, lower budget players, so everything I do, you know, there's going to be the standard deck profiles, deck tutorials, market watches, card discussions, all of that stuff, but it's going to be targeted to a lower tier or lower budget players, you know, the players who don't like playing top tier decks or just don't have the money for it or don't want to spend the money on it. So with that being said, the card I'm going to talk to you guys about today is Evigishki Merrowgeist, or as I like to call it, the Poor Man's Abyss Dweller. And the reason I call it the Poor Man's Abyss Dweller is because I was talking to my friends about this card when I first discovered it, and I'm like, what do you guys think of this? And they said, you know, they would play 3 Abyss Dwellers in their extra deck before they would even think about playing this. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, yeah, you could play 3 Abyss Dwellers, but not everyone could afford 3 Abyss Dwellers. Not everyone could afford 1 Abyss Dweller. People just don't want to spend 20 bucks on a super that could see reprint any time now. So why do I think this card is worth a discussion? Well, it's a generic rank 4, water type. It has 2100 attack, 1600 defense, and its effect says, after damage calculation, if this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can detach 1 XYZ material from this card, shovel the destroyed monster into the deck instead of sending it to the graveyard. So it's a pretty cheap card now, which is great. It's floating between 2 to 5 bucks. You could probably pick one up for 2 to 3 bucks, the secret rare, and the DT one is like 7 to 10, so still not that expensive if you want to hollow it out. And to me, this looks like the weird genetic byproduct of Abyss Dweller and Wiretap. This is the creation, this is the love child if Abyss Dweller and Wiretap I don't know what I'm doing. The reason I like this card is there are a ton of cards, especially now, that when they're destroyed and sent to the graveyard, either by battle or by card effect, they get their effect, and a lot of these cards have really broken effects. For example, the new Fire and Ice hand that just came out in Dragons of Legends. So the reason I like this card is because it takes out some awkward position that Abyss Dweller doesn't. So long story short, I was playing on Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro and I was playing against Mermails. I had an Abyss Dweller with 1 material left. He had a face-down monster, and I wanted to attack into it, but I wasn't sure if I should use Abyss Dweller's effect. You know, if I use his effect and it wasn't Abyss Lyn, then yeah, sure, I negated his effect and that's great, but if it's not, then I just wasted an Abyss Dweller's effect and he could go off on me next turn. So when I compare this to the Fire and Ice hand in the new Hat deck, it's a very different situation because you can't really set a bluff. When your opponent playing Hat sets a monster, you know it's probably most likely going to be a Fire and Ice hand because they're not going to set a Mermello because that searches a staple card. They're not going to set a Bear because why would they? It gets you pluses. And they're not going to set an Artifact because you put that in your back row. So in that situation, Abyss Dweller would be a great option, but against other decks, and now Fire and Ice hand, I'm actually working on a segment on it because they're being splashed into almost every deck people are trying to splash them into. You don't know whether it's going to be a Fire and Ice hand and you could go neg, or is it just going to be a bluff and you'll waste an Abyss Dweller's effect? Now the 2 downsides of this card, I wouldn't even call them downsides because it's just not what the card is made for, is that it doesn't hit artifacts like Abyss Dweller does, which is fine because that's not what the card is meant to do. Also, it doesn't remove the issue of Fire and Ice hand permanently like cards like Dimensional Prison and Bottomless Trap Hole does by removing them from play. It actually just returns them to the deck and allows your opponent to reuse them. So that's why I like the card. You know, I'm a budget player, it's a budget card, I'm broke. But since I had to keep this video under 4 minutes, let me know if there's anything I didn't mention or something you're unclear about or any questions you have about this card still. Leave it in the comments down below because I will be answering all questions. That's something I promise to all my viewers and all my subscribers. I answer all questions down below. So definitely send me a message or comment down below with your thoughts or questions on it. If you want to see more of me, my channel will be right here. Go subscribe to that. Also, don't forget to subscribe to Dan to follow me and all the other great contestants in the Next Great Yugituber contest. I'll see you guys next time, and thank you for tuning in.